Hey guys, hope you're all well. My name's Thomas Blakemore. I teach travel and sometimes triumph, and this is going to be a teach video. I'm going to be creating another NQT tips video, this time based on classroom displays. In a previous video, I started to talk about some of the mistakes that I made as an NQT. One of those mistakes was during the summer where I spent far too much time creating displays, and I'll get onto that in a little bit. So this video is going to be about displays. Are they effective? What's the point in displays? I'm going to be talking about what can really make a good display, sort of given an acronym that can support that sort of strategy, and then talking about some of the displays that I created in my NQT year to hopefully support you guys, and then break down where my displays maybe went wrong or right. What I really want to know about is about your classroom displays that you have previously created. Leave a comment down below to tell me about the classroom displays that you've created, whether or not you thought they were useful, be a bit evaluative, tell me if they weren't, and hopefully we can use the comment section to try and create a supportive platform to support other NQTs and trainee teachers. So, to start off with, I want to look at what's the point in a display. And to be fair, recent research has actually shown that displays can actually be a little bit distracting. Furthermore, did I just use the word furthermore? Yep. Furthermore, a distracting, display-heavy environment can actually have a negative impact on test scores. I'll link the article down below that gives you evidence to support what I've just said. We live in a very comparative era. That's partially thanks to things like Instagram and other forms of social media. I've recently started to do more things about teaching on my Instagram, and whilst sort of pursuing that journey, started to come across more and more teachers who are doing things online in terms of teaching. One of the things that really struck me was just how heavy sometimes other teachers can put emphasis on the importance of displays. More specifically, the amount of time and the pretty displays and just how decorative some of those displays can be. And that is okay, but I do believe that you need to be really thoughtful about the purpose of the display that you are creating. So what I want to do is break down an acronym that I sometimes use when I create my displays that is known as PART. Purpose, accessibility, referred to, and time. And hopefully that'll be a little bit useful to you guys when you create your displays. So the first thing we want to look at is purpose. When I see displays on things like Pinterest or Instagram, I sometimes think about the purpose of that display and whether or not the purpose had been fully thought out. If you're creating a display that is just to present the children's works and put it on a display, that's fine, you can do that. But don't start making a super tremendous display because it's a little bit of a waste of your time. We'll refer to time in a little bit. Think about the purpose of your display. So first things first, think about whether or not, let's say it's a maths area, what are you trying to show in that maths area? Are you trying to show a range of different strategies? If it's an English area, then you can think about similar things. What are the features of that writing? Start to think about what the purpose of that display is, because often when you create a display, the purpose can be lost and then it just looks like a scattered arrangement of different sections that to a child can be a little bit distracting. Accessibility. Accessibility of your displays is really quite critical. If children can't, one, see your display, and two, aren't actually getting up and interacting with it and making sure that they can sort of touch the display and know that it's there, then they're not going to use it and it's a waste of your effort. So make sure that the display is clearly in view and referred to. This is perhaps the most critical part. In the article that I just mentioned recently, it talks about how distracting the environment can be. However, what it doesn't discuss is the fact that children were just placed into two different environments, one that had very little in it and one that was very display heavy with different things around. Now, what's really interesting is they didn't sort of delve into whether or not that teacher is referring to those things and whether or not the meaning is there. So children are immediately sort of like looking around and thinking about those things, and that's why things can sometimes be distracting, or that's my conclusion. Refer to. Make sure that once you've created your display, you refer back to it within your teaching. Otherwise, the children aren't going to fully understand what the purpose of the display is. One of the things I like to do in my teaching is within my starter, making sure that I go to a specific display, let's say my English display, and talk about the features of the specific text type that they're about to write about. I have a little whiteboard on my display, and that way I can sort of make notes and talk about vocabulary, things that they're going to need within their English lesson. That way the children then know that, bam, over there is display for them to look at. And the final one is time. displays are a very time-consuming process. One display I do spend a little bit more time on is my reading display. That's because I try and create an environment that is inviting to children who are a little bit reluctant to read. Other than that, other displays can sometimes take a lot of time. So really think about, are you using your time wisely? So what I wanted to do is have a look at some of the displays I created in my NQT year. Some of them I did have photos for, some of them are just sort of photos that I found online that are similar to the displays that I made during my NQT year. The first display that I want to talk about is my maths display. So my maths display was very minion focused, and I would have a range of different minions on the board with a whiteboard next to them that says, Carl says, make sure you do this when calculating. And I had a range of different tips down one side. On the other side, I'd split it and I had a range of different vocabulary. Now, in fairness, that display was quite useful because I could change it all the time. The children in my class loved minions. However, it did take me a little bit of time. One thing I did put is a load of cut out bananas all around the board to sort of make it look pretty. Looking back, the children actually weren't really bothered whether or not those bananas were up there, and having the minions there in the first place could have been enough, but also just having the boards there would have been enough. It was useful because it was accessible. The children knew that it was there and were able to refer to it within the lesson because I continuously spoke about it during my teaching. I also know that it didn't take too much time other than the fact that the minions needed cutting out, but I had people who were able to support me with that, some class parents and TAs who were able to cut things out to try and reduce my time so that I can use that wisely elsewhere. So that first display gets a big thumbs up. My next display that I want to talk about is my ancient Greek display. This one took so much time. I downloaded from Twinkle a range of different gods and put them on a display. I had a beautiful sky, I had Mount Olympus, is it? In the background with a building on top, and I had the names of the gods above them. Other than that, I did nothing with it. So the point of that display was pretty pointless. And I think that was one displays that I spent so much effort on. I was a little bit disappointed with how little I used it. Other than talking about who the gods were, what Mount Olympus was, there was no real point in having that display. The children knew it was there, were like, oh, that's cool for about a day, and then yeah, it just sort of lost its meaning. So it wasn't referred back to, and the time that I spent, which was a huge amount of time, my mum even helped me during the summer. This is the one that I really did spend time on. It was just a big waste of time, and I could have spent that time wisely elsewhere, or shock horror, actually just had time to enjoy to myself. My next display was the McDonald's vocabulary display. Now this one looked really pretty. This is one that I got from Pinterest, and it was all about trying to create different synonyms for the keyword that was on the McDonald's box. So children could see the word, pull out the word, and then use it. Now the purpose of it was quite strong. I really wanted to try and develop language within the class. So the purpose was there. It was partially accessible, but due to the fiddliness of the boxes and the sticks, a lot of the boxes would pop at the bottom and the sticks would go everywhere. So eventually we started to lose more and more lollipop sticks, and over time that resource got really stretched to the point where it was unmaintainable. It was referred back to in some lessons, however I do think that having a whiteboard or something just there that I could write on would have just been a little bit stronger. Time. This one again took me a huge amount of time. It looked really good, but the time wasn't used most effectively. My final display was the Pokemon display. It was a Pokemon reading display, and I'll show you that now. This one took me a lot of time. I downloaded a custom Pokemon lettering, printed it off, cut it out, and yeah. The purpose of that display was to try and get children more engaged in reading. Around my NQT year, it was Pokemon Go time. Pokemon Go time. So all of the children were quite invested in Pokemon Go. So I thought, yeah, Pokemon seems like a good little thing to put on. So I had a range of different evolutions that I could start to introduce. And as children read, they would then move their cells up the chart, and if they got to 5 reads within the week, then they could have a reader's treat. And it worked. The children were really accessing it, and it was just a case of saying, guys, make sure you tick your name off first thing in the morning. The children would then go and do that, it was a bit of a winner, to be honest, because the children just accessed it quite well. It was referred back to at the end of the week. And time, this is the big one, it did take a lot of time. I could have done something a little bit different, but I know that that one was a really good tool to try and support children coming in and reading more and more. The main thing for you guys is just to make sure you're thinking about the purpose and the time. Think about how you're using your time wisely, because I know that there is going to be a lot of pressure for you guys to create beautiful displays for you to really showcase how creative you are. However, be aware that the children aren't bothered about that. The children are more focused on their teacher. Make sure that you really, really think about having that time during the summer to rest so that you're able to be the best teacher as possible during that NQT year. Anyway guys, I hope that this video has been a little bit useful. As I said at the start of the video, comment down below what has been your most useful display that you've created. What's your favorite display that you've created? Let's make that comment area a really supportive platform. I make a range of teaching and traveling videos, so feel free to click into my channel and see further videos. It'd be great if you subscribe to the channel to support the channel, and hopefully you can see more videos in the future. As always, feel free to like the video too. I'll see you in the next one, guys, and